My husband suddenly filed for divorce, saying that I was a useless wife and left me for a younger mistress. He was sure I wouldn't make it without him. I just smiled. Now he calls me 20 times a day. My husband James of 15 years handed me divorce papers yesterday, calling me a useless wife before telling me he's moving in with his mistress. He was so confident I'd fall apart without him. I'm still in shock, but I need to get this off my chest. I should have seen it coming. Looking back, the signs were there, but you never want to believe the person you've built your whole life with could change so drastically. Or maybe they were always like that, and you just didn't want to see it. It started with small things. James got really into fitness about 8 months ago, started going to F45 every morning at 5 a.m., bought all new clothes from Lululemon, and was constantly checking his Apple Watch stats. I was happy for him. We're not getting any younger, and health is important. He even got me a Peloton for Christmas, though he made sure to remind me every week how much it cost and how I barely used it. Then came the late nights at work, the weird texts he'd quickly hide when I walked by, the new cologne from Sephora that he got as a free sample. He started making comments about how I should put more effort into my appearance, suggesting I try those viral skincare products from TikTok or get Botox like everyone else. Mind you, I take care of myself just fine. I'm just not interested in dropping hundreds on La Mer creams or whatever's trending on Instagram. Yesterday I was folding laundry when I found a receipt from Tiffany & Co. in his pocket. We're not rich. We shop at Target and drive a 2018 Honda. A Tiffany receipt set off major alarm bells. When I checked our joint account, I nearly had a heart attack. There were multiple withdrawals to an account I didn't recognize, and our savings had been slowly draining over the past 6 months. I waited until he got home, receipt in hand. Instead of the usual excuses or gaslighting I expected, he just laughed. Actually laughed. Then he went to his home office, came back with an envelope, and tossed it on our coffee table. I was going to wait until the weekend, but since you're being nosy, here you go, he said, smirking like he just won something. My lawyer says it's a generous offer, considering you've contributed basically nothing to this marriage. I sat there, staring at the divorce papers, while he continued talking about how his new girlfriend Aurora actually takes care of herself and has ambition. Apparently, she's some fitness influencer he met at F45. She has 50K followers on Instagram and is going places. Meanwhile, I'm just the wife who supported him through his early career, handled all our housework, and put my own ambitions on hold because he said his job should come first. The worst part? He's been planning this for months. He already has an apartment with her in one of those luxury complexes downtown. The Tiffany receipt? A promise ring. He actually used our joint savings to buy his mistress jewelry. Let's be realistic, he said. You can barely work the Netflix app without my help. You'll be calling me within a week, begging to work things out. I'm actually doing you a favor, teaching you to finally grow up. I didn't cry. I didn't scream. I just sat there, watching him pack his suitcase with all his expensive new clothes. He took his iPad, his gaming console, and even the good coffee maker, left me with the cheap. After he left, I opened my laptop and started going through our accounts. Found out he's been moving money around since January. Discovered credit card statements for restaurants and hotels I never knew about. Even found a Venmo history that made me sick to my stomach. I called my sister Vivian and she came right over. We stayed up all night, going through papers and making lists. This morning, I called in sick to work and made an appointment with a divorce attorney. I also froze our joint credit cards. Something I learned was possible from a random TikTok video, ironically. It's been 24 hours. My phone shows 23 missed calls from him. The first voicemail was angry. The second was threatening. By the 10th, he was practically begging me to talk about this rationally. First update. Thank you everyone for the support on my last post. Still trying to process everything, but some things have happened that I need to get off my chest. I've spent the last week staying at my sister Vivian's place. Been sleeping on her couch, actually. She has a kid and the guest room is full of toys. Not complaining, though. Beats being alone in that house right now. The first reality check hit when I tried to order something on Amazon. My card got declined for a $30 purchase. Called the bank, and that's when things started unraveling. Turns out James had been moving money around. Not huge amounts that would have caught my attention, but steady transfers of $200, $300 every couple weeks. Always labeled things like car maintenance or home repairs, real basic stuff that I wouldn't question. Looking at it now, I feel kind of stupid. We've had separate accounts since we got married. His idea said it was more practical, but I trusted him with the joint savings. That's where most of my paychecks went. Building our future, he called it. Yeah, right. Found out he's been taking Aurora to all these fancy places. Not super expensive, but definitely more than we usually spend. Like that new fusion restaurant downtown where appetizers are $15 each. Meanwhile, he'd complain when I'd spend $50 at Target on household stuff we actually needed. The weird part? When I was going through our papers, amazing how much stuff you accumulate in 15 years, I found receipts from places I've never been to. Small things, coffee shops near her apartment, movie tickets from dates I wasn't on. He wasn't even trying to hide them well, just stuck them in a drawer with all our other paperwork. Vivian's been helping me sort through everything. She works at a bank, so she knows what to look for. Classic financial abuse, she called it, though that term feels too dramatic for what happened to me. I just feel dumb. Like I should have noticed sooner. The most bizarre thing happened yesterday at Walmart. Was getting some basic stuff. Toothpaste, shampoo, you know. Ran into James's cousin Mateo. Instead of being awkward, he actually helped me pick out a cheap printer for scanning documents. Told me James had done similar stuff to his high school girlfriend. Would have been nice to know that 15 years ago. But whatever. James keeps calling. Not as much as before. Down to maybe 5 to 6 times a day now. The messages switched from angry to weirdly concerned. Just worried about you handling the bills, he texted yesterday. As if I haven't been paying my own phone bill this whole time. Aurora sent me a message on Facebook. Nothing dramatic. Just a, we should talk sometime. Left her on read. What's there to talk about? She knew he was married. She's not some innocent victim here. I met with a divorce attorney yesterday. Nothing fancy. Found her through a women's support group on Facebook. She seemed concerned about some of the financial stuff, especially when I showed her how he'd been moving money around. Said we need to act fast to prevent him from hiding more assets. The biggest shock came when I finally logged into our old shared email account. Found confirmation emails for a credit card I didn't know about. Not some high-limit card or anything. Just a basic Capital One card with a $3,000 limit. But he'd been using it for months, mostly at restaurants and gas stations near her place. Had to laugh when I saw charges from Planet Fitness on there. He'd been telling me he was going to that expensive F45 gym, probably to impress her. Guess the fitness influencer girlfriend wasn't bringing in as much money as he pretended. Today I opened my own bank account, just a basic checking account at Chase. The lady at the bank was super helpful, showed me how to use their app and everything. It's not rocket science despite what James always said. Oh, and I finally figured out why he always insisted on handling the Netflix account. Found out he had a separate profile set up that he'd watch with her. Real classy, James. Edit 1. Thanks for all the advice about freezing credit. Already done. Turns out it's pretty simple. Edit 2. Yes, I'm documenting everything. Have a folder on my phone full of screenshots. Edit 3. For everyone asking, no, I haven't responded to either of them. Lawyer says to keep it that way. Edit 4. Some of you are suggesting I expose Aurora on social media. Not interested in drama. Just want to get through this with my dignity intact. Second update. Quick update because this week has been wild. Remember how James was so sure I'd fall apart without him? Well, karma had other plans. It started when I finally landed a job at a local company. Nothing fancy. Basic customer service stuff, 16-hour. But here's the thing. The office is in the same building as one of James's biggest clients. You know, the ones he's always trying to impress. I didn't plan this, just saw the job on Indeed and applied. First day at work, guess who I run into in the elevator? James wearing his important meeting suit, the one he maxed out our Nordstrom card for, with Aurora trailing behind him like a lost puppy. His face when he saw me in work clothes, carrying my new laptop bag, priceless. Aurora just stood there awkwardly, probably wondering why her successful boyfriend suddenly looked like he'd seen a ghost. But here's where it gets good. Remember how James always handled our finances because I was too scattered to understand them? Turns out my new manager Matthew actually likes how detail-oriented I am. Asked me to help organize some spreadsheets for the office. While I was learning Excel, thanks YouTube tutorials, I started applying those same skills to organizing all the evidence of James's financial shenanigans. The best part? I didn't have to do anything dramatic. Just handed over my neatly organized folders of bank statements, credit card bills, and screenshots to my divorce attorney. She actually smiled when she saw how thorough I'd been. This is perfect, she said. We won't even need to hire a forensic accountant. James found out about this during our first mediation meeting. He showed up all confident, probably expecting me to be a mess. Instead, he walked into a room where I had printed copies of every shady transaction he'd made in the last year, including the charges from hotels near Aurora's apartment that he claimed were business meetings. His face when the mediator started going through the evidence? Better than any revenge I could have planned. But wait, it gets better. Remember that Peloton he bought me for Christmas? The one he said I never used? I finally logged into the account last week. Guess what I found? Workout history showing him and Aurora using it together, at our house, on days when I was visiting my sister. Yeah, in our house. I mentioned this casually during mediation, just slid the printed activity log across the table. James actually stuttered trying to explain that one. The real karma hit when Aurora finally realized James isn't as wealthy as he pretended to be. Apparently she found out he's still paying off that Tiffany promise ring, which by the way wasn't even from the actual Tiffany store. Found the receipt? It's from one of those look-alike websites. How do I know this? Well, Aurora did something interesting. She messaged me on Instagram, but instead of the usual, we need to talk drama, she sent screenshots. Lots of screenshots. Messages where James promised to buy her a car. With what money, dude? Conversations about moving into a luxury apartment that he definitely can't afford. Even some choice comments about me that, well, let's just say they're going to be interesting additions to our divorce proceedings. I thought you should see who he really is, she wrote. I'm done being part of his lies. I didn't respond, just forwarded everything to my attorney. Professional revenge is so much better than drama. The cherry on top? James's mom called me yesterday. Turns out she's been watching this whole thing unfold in our small town's gossip circle. She apologized for enabling his behavior all these years, and then dropped a bombshell. James got fired from his job. Not because of me. Apparently, he'd been inflating his expense reports for months. All those fancy dates with Aurora, he was charging them to his company card. I'm not going to lie. Part of me wanted to post all this on Facebook, share the screenshots, make him feel as humiliated as I did when he called me useless. But you know what? I didn't have to. He's doing a perfect job of destroying his own reputation all by himself. Instead, I focused on making my new little studio apartment feel like home. Bought some plants from Home Depot. They're still alive. Figured out how to mount a TV by myself. YouTube is amazing. And even started learning to cook properly. Turns out I'm not actually hopeless in the kitchen, like James always said. The best revenge? When he created yet another new Instagram account to message me, I didn't even feel angry. Just marked it as spam and went back to watching my YouTube cooking tutorial. Third update. Remember how I mentioned James got fired for expense report fraud? That was just the beginning. It started last Tuesday when I was getting coffee at Starbucks before work. I overheard two guys at the next table talking about someone who got caught charging personal expenses to company accounts. Didn't think much of it until I heard James's name. Turns out he hadn't just been charging those dates with Aurora to his company card, he'd been running this scheme at his last 3 jobs. How do I know? Because Aurora, of all people, started talking. And not just to me, to everyone. See, after James got fired, he couldn't keep up with all the promises he'd made to her. No more fancy dinners at Cheesecake Factory, no more shopping sprees at Lululemon, no more weekend trips to nearby cities. The final straw? He couldn't make the payments on that fake Tiffany ring. Yes, still can't believe he bought a knockoff. Aurora didn't just get mad, she got methodical. Remember all those expense reports James was faking? She had photos. Lots of photos. Apparently, he used to brag to her about how clever he was, showing her all his tricks for gaming the system. She'd saved everything in her Google Photos, thinking it was impressive that her boyfriend was so smart with money. Last week, she made a TikTok. Nothing dramatic. Just a story time about dating a guy who turned out to be a fraud. Didn't use names, but included glimpses of those receipts. The video went viral in our local circle. James's old coworkers recognized the expense report format. Meanwhile, I had my own little victory. Remember that joint Amazon account he kept trying to get back into? I found out he'd been using it to buy gifts for Aurora while we were still together, so I did something petty, but satisfying. I returned everything that was still within the return window. The money went back to my card since I was the original purchaser. The best part? He didn't even notice until Amazon sent him those rate your purchase emails. By then, all the stuff he'd bought Aurora was back in Amazon's warehouse, and the refunds had already cleared. But here's where it gets really good. Yesterday, I was at Target picking up some storage bins, trying to organize my new place, when I ran into James's sister, Katie. Instead of being awkward, she actually hugged me and spilled some tea. James had been borrowing money from their parents, claiming it was for investment opportunities. Turns out he was using it to maintain his fake lifestyle with Aurora. His parents found out about this during a family dinner last weekend. How? Because Aurora's TikTok had made its way to his mom's Facebook feed. There was apparently a huge scene at Olive Garden, of all places. James's dad was so angry he actually took back the spare key to their house. James's reaction to all this? Total meltdown. He started messaging everyone trying to do damage control, made new Instagram accounts to harass Aurora, kept calling his old job trying to explain, even showed up at his parents' house at midnight begging them to understand his side. The karma train wasn't done though. Remember how he always insisted on managing our shared cloud storage because I was too disorganized? Well, I finally logged into it last week to download some old photos. Found a folder full of screenshots of his conversations with Aurora from when they first started dating, including some choice messages about their plans for after he left me. I didn't even have to do anything with them. Just forwarded everything to my divorce attorney. She actually laughed and said, "This is making my job very easy." But the absolute peak of all this? Aurora made a follow-up TikTok yesterday. This time she showed the fake Tiffany ring, complete with screenshots of the sketchy website he bought it from. The video already has 50K views. James tried to come to my workplace to talk about all this. Read, beg me to help fix his reputation. Security didn't even let him in the building. Apparently his scene in the lobby is now on our office's security camera greatest hits. I did something kind of petty yesterday. Changed all our streaming passwords one by one while watching his Ring camera notifications blow up as he tried to access each account. Netflix, Hulu, HBO Max, even his precious ESPN Plus. By the third notification, I was actually giggling. His dream car, that Tesla Model 3 he leased to impress Aurora, way above our budget by the way, got repossessed this morning. From the parking lot of the Motel 6 where he's been staying since Aurora kicked him out of their apartment, I watched it all happen from the Dunkin' drive-thru across the street. Didn't plan to be there. Just stopped for coffee on my way to work. Sometimes the universe just hands you these moments. Edit 1. Yes, I'm still keeping copies of everything for the divorce proceedings. Edit 2. No, I won't share Aurora's TikTok username. This isn't about creating more drama. 4 update. I wasn't planning on writing another update, But some things happened recently that feel like a proper ending to this story. It's been 6 months since James left, calling me his useless wife. The divorce is finally official. No dramatic courtroom showdown, just paperwork and lawyers in a bland office. James looked rough, wearing the same Nordstrom dress shirt he used to brag about, but now it's wrinkled and a bit tight. Seems like his fitness influencer lifestyle with Aurora didn't last. Here's where it gets interesting. Remember all those expense reports he was faking? His company didn't press charges or anything dramatic. They just did the corporate equivalent of a shrug, withheld his last paycheck and bonuses, blacklisted him from future employment, and moved on. Turns out big companies don't like public drama any more than necessary. Aurora left him last month, not with a bang or viral TikTok. She just moved back to her parents' place in the suburbs. Apparently, life gets less exciting when your boyfriend can't afford Cheesecake Factory dates anymore. She tried messaging me on Instagram to explain her side, but I just left her on red. Some things don't need closure. James is now renting a room in a shared house across town. His Tesla got repossessed. No surprise there. And he's driving a beat-up Honda. The same kind of car he used to mock me for wanting to buy because it was too basic. I'm still at my customer service job, but got a small raise, $5 per hour. Not life-changing, but it's something. Learned how to do my own taxes through TurboTax. Turns out it's not the complicated mystery James always made it out to be. Had an awkward but revealing run-in with his mom at Target last week. She was buying storage bins in the same aisle as me. Instead of avoiding each other, we actually talked. She told me James tried to borrow money from them, but they refused. He needs to grow up, she said. Then helped me pick out some cheap but nice-looking throw pillows for my studio apartment. The apartment's finally feeling like home. Got some plants from Home Depot. 2 out of 3 are still alive. Learned to cook basic meals through HelloFresh, and started going to Planet Fitness on weekends. Nothing fancy, just normal life stuff. James still tries to contact me through new Instagram accounts, usually when he's been drinking. Mostly stuff like, "You'll regret this," or "You can't make it without me." I just block and delete. The funny part? Found his old password list in our shared Google Drive. Yes, he kept it in a document literally named Passwords. Didn't do anything with it. Just forwarded it to his sister Katie so she could tell him to change everything. Met a guy named Matthew at work. Nothing serious. We just have lunch in the break room sometimes. He's also recently divorced and gets why I'm not ready for anything real. But here's the real kicker. Last week, while getting coffee at Dunkin', I overheard some guys from James's old office talking. Turns out he's been calling and emailing trying to get his job back. Even showed up in the lobby once. They didn't even bother calling security. Just let him stand there until he got tired and left. His new life isn't exactly what he planned. No more fancy gym membership. He works out at the same Planet Fitness as me now. We awkwardly avoided each other in the parking lot once. Aurora's back on dating apps. His important business contacts don't return his calls. Meanwhile, I'm doing all the things he said I couldn't. Paying bills, fixing minor house problems, managing my own budget. Nothing extraordinary, just regular adult stuff that he convinced me was beyond my capabilities. Found our old wedding photos while cleaning last weekend. That girl in the photos, trying so hard to be what he wanted, I barely recognize her now. The most satisfying moment wasn't some big revenge scene. It was yesterday, at the bank, depositing my paycheck. Yes, I still like doing it in person. The teller was the same one who helped me open my own account 6 months ago, when I was shaking and scared. She smiled and said, "You look happier." And you know what? I am.